Welcome to Youth Talks, brought to you by State of Youth.
All right. Hey guys, this is Garvita here. I am one of the State of Youth Board members as well as the founder of Why Waste. As a young change maker, I have pioneered several solutions to solve the global water crisis, and I've been very enthusiastic about the environment. I would love to welcome everyone to our next episode of Youth Talks, the State of Youth podcast. This podcast is a public space about hot topics for youth and activists from all around the world. We will be publishing one episode every 2 weeks and discussing different matters with diverse and interesting guests. Today, on account of World Environment Day, um, I'm very excited to be joined by Fion, who is one of the pioneer young change makers in this field. And as much as I would have loved to talk all about this, I am very excited to have Fion with me, who is a wonderful change maker and environmental activist. Fion, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. And I would love to start off with getting to know you a little bit better. And if you could share a little bit more about what you do.
Totally. Well, first of all, thank you very, very much for that wonderful introduction. And I'm so glad that I'm able to speak to you guys here on Earth Day. I really hope that we can just inspire some more people to, take care of our Earth, the habitat where we live. So my name is Fion. I'm originally Irish. I've got German and Portuguese parents, and I currently live in the Netherlands and I'm studying chemistry. And what I love doing, I love doing two things. The first thing I love doing is inventing, trying out new ideas and just seeing if I can build and invent new creations to make the world a better place. And then the other thing I love doing is telling other people about it and trying to get other inventors to do the same as what I do, to invent for, I guess, a better world. So I think these things are linked, and I'm really excited to get you going about that. Other things I love doing are, I guess, cooking and cycling in the countryside, and of course, kayaking and sailing and just being outside a lot.
That's so lovely. And we have a lot of common interests, I must add, but not to take away from that. I love the fact that you shared that you love to invent and, of course, inspire other people who love to invent. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the things that you've invented?
So I've invented too many things to count. A lot of them, and in fact, most of them don't work or didn't work out properly or, kind of broke halfway along. But I think that's part of what I love about the invention journey, right? It's that I can try stuff out and nobody laughs at me if my invention doesn't work, which most of the time it doesn't. So I guess something that I'm most well known for my invention journey is a new device to remove microplastic particles from water. Essentially, my device,
Wow.
yeah, my device works by using these liquids and different cool science, which we'll geek out on in a little while, I assume. But I've also invented so many more things. A device to measure microplastics in water, and then a whole load of other devices which might be unrelated. So previous to my microplastic device, I made a device which could be used to measure the food content, so antioxidant content in foods. And then I've also invented quite a few kind of beach cleanup devices as well. So I think I'm not bound to one certain thing, but yeah, you name the problem in my life, I've tried to invent something to fix it. I'm not quite sure if it's always worked, but I definitely have a big box of Legos just behind the microphone for today's podcast, ready for after the podcast that I can go back and play with Legos and inventing something new.
So I'm guessing I'm supposed to give you a new problem that you can solve right now.
Well, that would be wonderful, but I've actually just discovered one, and that is that my microphone is quite loose. So I think that's the next thing that I have to invent, is somehow a way to hold up my microphone better.
Love it. I love it. That's so cool. I mean, I'm going to take away from that and try to be a little more inventive in my life. But Fion, I love all of the ideas that you're thinking of, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about how you really came to this? What was your process? Were you playing with Legos since you were 3, or what was that breakthrough where you said to yourself that, Fion, if you see a problem, you're going to find the solution for it and you're going to invent it yourself? And when did all of that start?
Well, I think this type of thing, you can't pinpoint it down to one place, for me at least. For me, I've always really enjoyed Legos. As you say, I think since I was very, very, very young, I was always given like Lego kits and gifts of things to build, like Meccano I loved as well. Just anything where I could really get my hands into it and like invent and build and play with my ideas. But I think that also it took a while for me to realize that with these kind of skills that we got, because basically I think through Lego, the main skill you realize is that you can just try stuff out, and if it doesn't work, nobody really cares. And I think the other skill is, it gives you a bit of a mechanical sense. But I think that the main things that really got me into thinking, well, I can invent to make the planet better, was hearing about other people who were inventing and trying things out, but also hearing about the problems that were needing to be tackled. So for me, I got very, very passionate about the plastic problem. And this really came from when I was living on the coastline of Ireland. I was kayaking outside and I could actually see plastic on the shore, like in a lot of different places. And I think that that was, yeah, not exactly very good. So that kind of motivated me to want to try and make a difference, try and make it better. And I did a bit of research online and realized there wasn't really anything out there that was currently doing that. So I thought, well, I can just apply my Lego concept and see, well, the worst thing that can happen is that my method doesn't work. And, that's okay. I've done that a lot of times. So I think that's what kind of told me that anybody could invent for that. Additionally, I think another major realization point for me, was a point when I realized that scientific topics, particularly the cutting edge, let's say microplastics, is not something that is inaccessible or something that's like way beyond what young people can fathom. Like, I don't need to have a PhD before you can get into these fields. But actually, just reading a couple of papers, just getting stuck into that topic, very quickly, you'll find yourself like almost an expert on the topic. So I do think that it's interesting also to look at it on that aspect, that we can have these things in a way that anybody can access science and anybody can invent. And I think that was a major realization point for me.
Yeah, no, and I think what you said is so powerful in the sense that anybody can do it. And very often as young people, we forget that, we are capable change makers, that, we see problems around us, and being young people growing up in this volatile, ambiguous VUCA world that we have, I think we are better equipped rather to think of those solutions, because it's what we're seeing on a daily basis. And I think that resonated so well in what you said, where you really saw these problems around you and you were compelled to make a difference, and you realize that you don't need to be a qualified engineer or a scientist to really be changing the world. You can do it if you have the conviction to. So that was really powerful. Thank you so much, Fionn. So, just to jump into Environment Day as we're talking about it, right? What does Environment Day mean to you? What is its significance to you?
Well, for me, I think Earth Day is quite a big significance, because it's the day when we celebrate the place where we live, right? And the place where at least I live. I'm not quite sure about you, but I assume that you also live on planet Earth, right? So I think that it's just such a big celebration of, first of all, the place we live. I think we shouldn't attach it with negative things. I think Earth Day is really a celebration of the wonders of what, the luck we have to be on such a nice planet that has just so many beautiful flora and fauna that we can just engage with. And I think we should also on that day really appreciate what beauty there is in nature and what beauty there is on this planet. So I think that by appreciating that beauty, we should also, however, consider the threats to that. And for me, I think it's a very important festival, because not only are we considering our love for the planet, but we're also looking and reevaluating the ways that we can make it a better place or conserve it for more people to come to celebrate, just like us on Earth Day, what a beautiful place we live in.
I'm sorry, I'm going to break you there. I mentioned Environment Day because this is for Environment Day.
Oh, I do apologize.
No worries. Your answer was so beautiful. I don't want to pause you. But do you want to like roll it again once with environment? We can edit
Yeah,
this one.
yeah, totally. So I think that for Environment Day, really it's a day where we're celebrating the habitat where we live, right? So it's a day where the habitat where we live, that is the environment. And although if you're living in a city, you might feel like you're disconnected or far from that environment, you are still in the Earth's environment. And I think that we need to appreciate that more. And I think that that is what Environment Day is for. On that day, we can appreciate the beauty of the environment, but also we should remember that our environment is slowly, I guess, diminishing in its strength. And I think that we should think about ways that we can make it a better place. So I think it's an important celebration because in this celebration, hopefully we can draw more attention to the well-being of our world's environments, but also to the health and well-being of the place where we live, and ultimately that more people can experience the beauty of our planet.
Yeah, that was so beautiful. I think you have really beautifully outlined why each and every one of us should celebrate. And I think when you talk about, celebrating this day, it's not just, it's not a localized celebration where it's just a festival for us. It's a coming together of all of us, of every being on the planet. And I think that's the most beautiful, significant part about it. So Fionn, the next thing that I really wanted to, kind of understand from you is what matters most to you when you're looking for a better planet? What is that one thing that matters the most?
Well, I first of all, I guess this is me being very pernickety, but I think that we shouldn't be looking for a better planet, as in a substitute to Earth, but rather we should be improving the planet that we live on. So I think that what we should really look at is how we can make this place kind of sustain itself, right? Because currently the processes that are going on are kind of one way in a lot of different respects. Everything that we're doing at the moment is pretty much finite. It means that what we are using, the resources, are not in balance with what is being created on the other end. Whether it's the oxygen that we breathe, or whether it is the oil that we use to make different things. So I think those are very ambitious goals, but we can break them down into looking at what is most damaging to the environment right now. And I think that there are several major problems threatening the environment. And not all of them are just to do with science and engineering. I think they're intrinsically linked to social sciences and also I think human well-being as well. So I think that's really important to grasp. But for me, I think it is most important that we consider the effect of what we do and the effect of what we can change. And therefore, I think really combating this whole petrochemical industry and issue is something that I feel very strongly about. I think petrochemicals are a large issue. So essentially, when I talk about petrochemicals, I mean things derived from crude oil taken from our ground. And I know a transition away from that is difficult, but I think that that problem is one that needs to be addressed fairly soon. And I think also that that problem is something that just is so multi-stakeholder that it's really, really valuable to discuss on things like World Environment Day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm guessing that's why you're studying chemical engineering.
So I'm actually studying chemistry,
Okay.
which is, I guess, quite a different study direction. So we really look at, I guess that's what I would like to work in the future, is looking at ways that I can essentially redesign processes from the beginning. Because at the moment, there's a lot of cleanup actions and things to do with plastic to get them out of the environment. But we also need to try and prevent them getting into the environment in the first place. And I think that that's where chemists come in. Plastics are not going to go away. Plastics are an amazing product to use and build stuff out of. It's really strong. It's got a long lifespan, but it's a problem when it goes into the environment. So I think that the world needs chemists who can redesign the way we make plastic to a point that we can make one that is safely biodegradable and uses renewable feedstocks in its manufacture. And I think that that is a really interesting study field to look at.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that really sums up your experiences of, inventing and being so passionate about the petrochemical industry and finally wanting to redesign it from scratch. Something that I personally believe is when you try to solve a problem, you need to go to the root cause of the issue, right? You need to go deep down and you need to understand where it has all started for you to build the solution. That's exactly what you're doing, and I love it so much. Thank you for sharing that. So Fion, over these so many years that you have been working as a change maker, what do you believe is the most important piece of action that we need to take to save the planet?
I think that's a really difficult question because I think we can't just pin it down to one thing. But I think something that is perhaps the most important action that we can all take to save the planet is to care, right? I think there's just not enough people who want to have a cleaner and safer planet currently. So I think that spreading the message that no matter what you like doing, whether it is speaking in front of people, whether it is inventing, whether it is cooking, or anything on the big spectrum of jobs, all of those need to, in their own way, contribute to a circular economy. We can't blame just a certain industry. We all need to, I guess, become activists and want and really have the will to change things. Because only with everybody on board, or at least the vast majority of people on board, to want to make the place a greener place, can we actually achieve change.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so powerful. Collective conviction is, I think, something that we need, and love how you highlighted that.